Hi, this is Evgeny. Today I'm going to talk about hosting backend applications in the internet and how can it be done. If you have a static website, then it's generally much simpler. If you don't have a backend, you can use countless services for free, like even on GitHub you can host your web page now. But if you have a backend, then it's a little trickier and a little more expensive as well. So I'm gonna walk you through what are the options, and this particular video will be about serving Python on VPS server, and I'll say when it makes sense. But first, I will walk you through other options as well. So you have several types of hosting. You can host on your own server. So basically, you can host on your own computer, but it has disadvantages that you can understand. Like if your electricity gets turned off, you're without your server. If it's loud and you have small space, or it gets really hot, then you have obvious problems. So people generally use some special services for that. And lately, the most popular one are cloud hosting, like DigitalOcean, Heroku, and others. And it kind of makes sense because they're very scalable, they're easy to set up, but it comes with disadvantages as well. There are free tiers usually, but they have limitations, and those limitations kind of make it unusable. Besides just doing it to understand how it works and to test if it works at all. It's also pretty expensive if you have a small project or some hobby or small business. It also can be quite expensive to use cloud hosting. And VPS has other disadvantages, like it's not vertically scalable. You can't really just make it twice more powerful on a whim like you can with cloud hosting. And it's a little trickier to set up, but I will be showing you how to do it today. But it has obvious advantage of being pretty cheap, and pricing is also very simple. You're just paying for the VPS and that's it. With cloud hosting, there are so many different types of services that they provide, and the cost calculation can be very tricky. And there are a lot of scary stories on the internet when someone deployed their application but forgot to turn off some feature, or they configured server improperly, or they had been under some attack, and then they got the hundreds of dollars or thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars bill after that. So that won't happen with VPS. So yeah. So without further ado, let's get to it. Here you can see I have my API hosted, and this is the docs page of it, and we can also try the API itself, and it works. The project is out of my Git that I made for other tutorial on Faced API. And if you wanna see how I made the application, you can watch the video that will be in the tips here. Okay, so first of all, if we want to deploy our application, we need a VPS, which is a virtual private server. It means that there can be several virtual servers on the one physical server. And I will also won't be using Docker in this video, it will be the just regular one. There are many VPS providers out there, but I will use one of the cheapest VPS that I could find, which I already used for several projects and had no issues with. And many providers make 1 month tariff more like 3 to 4 times more expensive, and advertisement prices are for what you would pay for 5 years if you would pay it all upfront. And this website Zomra has like 30% difference between even 12% difference between 1 month and 12 months. It also has no limits on bandwidth, and I think it also has some discounts if you're a first time client. Their servers are set in the Netherlands, which is good if you're from Europe, but still will do fine from other continents if it's just for testing or small hobby. And I'm not affiliated with the website, by the way. You can do your own research, pick any VPS provider you'd like, because the process will remain largely the same. But I will leave a link to this one in description. So they have both Linux and Windows. I will use Linux and recommend you do the same. Sign up in the website. I already have an account, so I'm just signing in and log in. It will prompt you to that CP part, which is a control panel. And I recommend you use old interface. Yeah, it looks kind of bad, but at least it works unlike their new interface. Which I found doesn't work at all, and go to virtual private servers. Click order. So their cheapest one is for less than €4 a month. Operating system, will select Ubuntu. It won't have any graphical interface, but don't get scared. It's not a big deal actually. Even if you didn't work with Linux before, it will be pretty easy. Most servers in the world are run on Linux since they're more reliable and often more performant as well. You can select some pre-install software. We can pre-install OpenVPN, and you can add some more memory or whatever if you need it or want it, but I'll just make it all as basic as it can. And I will use that Vesta CP control panel since it's also free. So add to cart. You can use the promo code that I will provide you. I guess it will make some discount as well. But I'll just pay, and after paying, I will return to the project. So after you complete the payment, you will have a pending service here that is shown as paid, and just in a couple minutes they will make it ready to use and send you an email. Then in the email that you specified, you will get a message like that, hopefully in the language that you chose. Mine's in Russian, but it contains the credentials for your new server. So now let's go to the terminal. In Windows, it's CMD, and write SSH, which means secure shell. Then your username that was sent, which is generally root. Then and IP address that you were assigned. Then say that you trust, and then enter with your password. Okay, now you're connected to your server. So for less than $4, it won't get into any supercomputer list, but it will do for our purposes. If you never used Linux, don't be afraid. I'll walk through the interaction that we'll need. So first things first, let's update the system and install our packages. First, write sudo apt update. It will download all the newest packages for your operating system. After they're all downloaded, write sudo apt-get upgrade, which will install that. Type yes. Okay, so this might take a while, but it keeps helping your system secure. And now after that, we need to install some of our dependencies that we'll need. Usually the servers already have Python installed, but they don't have pip. But you can also install Python as well if you use some other server. So the command is sudo apt-get, and Python 3 pip will also need git and nginx. Excuse me, sudo apt-get install. Yeah, after all done, go to GitHub. You can use the same project code as I do. I will leave a link to it. Or you can use whatever application you have. Then copy the code here from HTTPS. Now we can look what we have here and git clone our URL. Now you can see that it appeared. Now we can go to our project directory like that, see what's inside there, create virtual environment. We use venv command for that. You can see that we have venv directory now, and enter virtual environment using source command. Now that you can see that we're in virtual environment because of prefix in command line, we'll install project requirements that we specified in our requirements file. We will also host using gunicorn server, which isn't in requirements, so we'll install it as well. Gunicorn is a Python WSGI server for Unix. Now in virtual environment, we can test server locally. We see it turned on, Ctrl+C to stop server after that. Now let's create server configuration in our folder using Nano text editor. I copy-pasted code here and made some adjustments. I leave the code for it in projects git. What happens here is we bind the server worker to socket, specify worker and log files. Let's exit virtual environment using the deactivate command. Now that we have our WSGI server ready, let's create Linux servers to load it, so-called systemd unit. The path should be as in video, and I'll call the service fast API. The configuration for it must have your username, group, and point to directory of your application. Exact start points to venv that we created, particularly to Python and gunicorn with configuration file and code to the application. Here I actually have a typo as there must be an empty line before install, which I will correct later. Let's enable and activate the service now with systemctl start enable commands. If it was working already and configuration has changed, it will ask you to run daemon reload command, which it asked me. We can check if service is working with status, systemctl status command. Service is active and running now, and we're left to configure nginx server at specified at location that I will specify. Using Nano, we'll write this, and let's call a file fast API as well. Nginx configuration is fairly simple. You specify a port to listen to, which is 80 for HTTP, 443 for HTTPS. Then server name needs to have the domain that you own. Yours was in the email sent by VPS provider. I also specified www separated by space, which is an alias. Location points to a WSGI server socket that we created. So now we need to create the soft link that will point to this file from other directory. We created file in sites available, and now we'll link it to sites enabled directory with ln as command. Mine has already existed, so it gave me error, and I'll just check by following directory and opening this file. Now we can see in etc hosts file that host file linking our IP address to URL was updated. We have our IP and URL there. Now let's test our nginx configuration with nginx-t. And everything is working. So we'll reload nginx servers for our changes to take place. And I'll go back to service file to add that extra empty line that I missed because it caused some problems off screen. After that, I will reload the daemon, start the service again, and check its status. Time to check if our efforts paid off. Let's go to our URL and browser. We'll see our hello production page. Let's try docs page and API. Also, please note here that you might need to turn off strict security mode for browsers, since we're serving HTTP now, which is considered insecure. There are several ways to serve HTTPS, which I'll be covering some other time. So we served the website, and congratulations. But you probably want some nicer domain than that, and I'll show you how to do it real quick. Now, if you want some nice domain, go to your domain seller of your choice. I will use Porkbun because it's pretty cheap and has good reviews and has cute pics everywhere. XYZ that I bought was like $2. So buy your own domain. You will have your account there. Then go to your VPS provider and select DNS hosting. You will need to buy it, but it's on the one that I linked. It's actually free. It says to buy DNS hosting for 50 domains. You go to products, DNS hosting, order, and for 50 domains is actually free. So then you will have that DNS hosting tab somewhere, somehow, and you can see the instructions. It will give you the panel with DNS management, to which you should go. Log in with the credentials that you have been given. And put the IP address of your server and click OK. Then you will see that you have the namespaces that are specific for your VPS. Zomer has those. Then you should go to your domain provider and go to options of the URL that you bought and go to and change authoritative name servers. Whatever is in there, you delete it and then put the ones that your VPS provider has given you, like that. You don't need those, so just leave it like that. And after that, you submit and wait for a while because as you can see, it can take some time to cache in DNS system. And after that, then go to your VPS, edit your nginx configuration again, open it, and change server name to the new URL that you purchased. After that, press Ctrl S to save and Ctrl X. Now restart your nginx server again. First, you can test it again with sudo nginx t. it says that it's fine, and then reload the systemctl reload nginx, and now you're ready to go. You just need to wait until all changes take effect, which can be several minutes or up to a couple hours sometimes, and then you can access your website through your new domain. Great.
That's it for this tutorial. Hope you found it helpful. If you have any ideas or questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.